Welcome to Shorty Supercoach, and we're going to discuss everything there is to know about rookies today. I've got a whopping list in front of me. I've got some guys that I think are locks in terms of discussing the rookies. There's 8 of those guys that I think you've just got to have in your team. I am going live on Thursday as well. So Thursday, 8 o'clock, I put out a video just for people to know. So yeah, let's hope that a few of you can get along. Just wanted to give it a bit of a plug. It was a raging success last time, which I was stoked about. So I thought, I better do another one sort of thing. So yeah, for anyone who's keen to ask me a question, feel free to jump onto that. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, in terms of the rookies, a lot of people ask me throughout the year or throughout the pre-season, like with 40 days to go, what rookies should we be looking at? And I'm like, buggered if I know, mate. I haven't even seen him. I don't even know what this bloke looks like. I personally, I do a little bit of research. I do love the draft. But in terms of picking our rookies, I don't really like to say too much until we see them play and we get close to the season. And what are we, like 8 days out? So I thought, let's smash it. Let's do everything you need to know about these rookies. The ones I think are relevant, I've listed here. I'll go through the back line, midfield, ruck, and forward line, just to give you guys an idea of where I'm sort of at in terms of these fellas. And yeah, I like to keep my powder dry just because I like to get a look at them. I like to get a feel for it because in reality, we're only guessing until we see these fellas play and get a gauge for their time on ground and gives us an indication of what the club thinks of them playing for round one. So we've now got that sample size and I'm keen to run through this. So let's get stuck into it and let's start with the defenders. And I'll just start at the top. There's not too many that I mentioned for 200k, but look, he's in like 6 or 7% of sides. So Lockie Young at North Melbourne. Look, I don't think he really set the world on fire, and I think a lot of people were hoping that, he would find a bit of an intercept defending role, but hasn't seemed to have set the world on fire. I'm not sure if he's guaranteed a round one spot, but look, I just wanted to mention him off the top because, there are a few people that obviously have him, but I don't know if he is an absolute must-have. So I think maybe keep scrolling, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to work our way down from some of the more expensive ones on each line right down to your rookie base. So Denver Granger Barras, isn't he an interesting fella? 184k, all the rage, high selection. James Sicily, he goes out, and all of a sudden we're thinking, perfect, great opportunity for him. Where the hell is he? He didn't play, and I'm a bit staggered, to be honest. I thought he was a round one lock now, and I reckon he's got the ability to score. I watched his under 18 highlights. He's a beautiful interceptor. The sort of guy that I think could just sort of slot into that Hawthorn back six and just be really reliable. But he didn't play. So what do we read into that? Surely there's a bit of concern. So no idea. We're going to have to wait and see on the round one sides. And I guess on that, it's worth mentioning, like, over the years, I've had fellas in my team for most of pre-season thinking, yeah, they'll definitely get named round one. Teams come out and I'm like, where the hell's this bloke? Where is he? So while we are running through these rookies today, I'll tell you what, the best indication we'll get is when we see the teams named. But that's actually something I wanted to mention off the top. The point being that we're only going to see these teams released the night before the game. So that is an insane headache. And it is a little bit as to why I've picked a couple more mid-price players as well. I've got the likes of Hayden Young, Jordan Clark. I'm batting pretty deep in the midfield. I've got the likes of Dow in the forward line. Just because I don't think we want to be left caught or left hanging and sort of caught in the dark. And the fact is that if we only get access to these teams the night before, that's a major concern. So that's why it's important to look at some bankability types, because previously we would, Thursday game would be played, cool. Then Thursday night, Friday, we see all the teams for the weekend and we can go, cool, he's in, he's not. Where now it's just a continual rolling thing, which won't be so bad for round one. It might cause some headaches, but down the track, it's going to cause us some headaches. So that's just something to think about. and it's why we've really got to do the due diligence on these rookies. So I'll pump out some names now. They were just a couple of points that I wanted to touch off on, and it does make life difficult for us super coaches, that is for sure. Nick Cox at 175k for the Bombers. He is, a really tall type, probably going to be key position eventually, and he is available as a defender or a forward, but it looks as if he's going to play on a wing. Now, he had the 9 touches from 80% time on ground against the Cats. Not sure he really lit the world on fire, but he looks like he's a really good chance to get quite a few games. I don't know if his scoring ability is anything to get super excited about, but sometimes these players, they can surprise, and he's clearly a very, very talented guy. So he's one that quite a few are looking at. I must say he's not in my team yet, but I am looking forward to really probably doing a little bit more research, because the back line is a bit short on defensive rookies. So it's a really unique thing this year. I feel like the back line is wealthy with premium options, but very, very short in terms of rookie types. And the forward line, very short on premiums that we can trust, yet I feel has the best option of rookies. So it's very interesting, and maybe keep that in mind when you're structuring up your team. Heath Chapman at the Dockers, 148k, just had the 5 touches and 16% time on ground. Didn't exactly, shouts, pick me for round 1, but the reason I reference time on ground, and I will do a bit throughout this video, is last week's Pracky games are probably the closest thing you're going to get to a full dress rehearsal for round 1 for many clubs. So if a player only plays a half or a quarter, gives you an indication that the coaches are sort of like, we don't mind what he has to offer. We want to give him some opportunity, have a look at him, but he's far from our best 22. Well, not far from his best 22. He's probably not in the best 22, but he's a chance if he really impresses, or we just want to give him some opportunity to just put his case forward. So that's why I think it's important when you do see a rookie that's played most of the game and you go, all right, so he's part of their genuine unit. So it's worth looking at those stats. One of the most popular defensive rookies, and probably rookies in the game, is Lockie Jones at 139k. And I've probably cooled on him quite a bit now. He looks the part. You got to love that mullet. He looks ready-made for AFL football and probably the nightclub scene as well. He looks like he's ready to knock a few beers back with that sort of look. But he only had the 6 touches. He did have 4 tackles in 40% to 42% time on ground. And there's a bloke in the forward line, at least our forward line, not Port Adelaide's, but I reckon he might have just pipped him for that sort of a role. But we'll talk about him soon. So I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait for the teams. Clearly, I think he will get opportunities throughout the year and is going to be a quality player. But Port Adelaide's a strong side, so it's going to be tough to blood too many youngsters. So just watch this space. But he's probably not the lock that we thought he was a couple of weeks ago. Trent Bianco, he's a bit of a sexy pick. People see Bianco and they go, oh, I love this bloke, put him in the side. But I don't think he's going to play early. 123k, named on the extended bench for the Pracky game, didn't get any minutes. So I think we can put a line through him. And this fella's really provoked a lot of debate. He's in a defence and a forward option. Kieran Briggs for the Giants. Came out of nowhere. We'll talk about Matt Flynn when we get to the Rucks, but out of nowhere, Briggs is the number 1 ruck for the Giants, or at least on the weekend he was, which was really strange, or at least unexpected. 5 touches, 22 hit-outs. Looked like he put forward a pretty solid performance. So I think if he is named for the Giants, I feel as if it's Flynn or if it's Briggs, we'll probably take one of them. So it's really interesting. If he can shoulder a lot of the ruck load early, because there is that opportunity with Bruce going down, and, I think the Giants are pretty weak in that area. So he might be a guy that just shoulders the ruck load early and can consistently score us 60 to 80. I think that's probably fair. And I'm coming up now to my first lock. First lock is Jacob Kosicki. Now, 123k at the Hawks, and he banged through 6 goals. 6 snags, just as you do. I couldn't believe it. I was like, 6 from who? Who is this bastard? But he was impressive, and I think it makes him a lock. Now, let's not get carried away with his scoring. He's not going to be some sort of crazy, averaging 70s and 80s all the time, but he's a key forward, quite an athletic type, but he will get opportunity. And I've probably made him a lock because in the back line, there isn't too many others that we can lock. So I am really hoping Granger Barras does get named. That's what I'm hoping, but we'll just wait and see. But the Hawks are going to give lots of opportunity, and he's one who's going to benefit from that. And I'm sure he'll have a day where he kicks 3, takes a few grabs, and scores like 90. And he'll have days where he just finds it tough against a quality opponent and scores 30. So, keep that in mind. But I think job security is really important for rookies at any year. And given what I said before with the rolling teams and not really getting a great insight as to when they're getting named. So I think he's one to really smash in there. Will Gould at the Swans. Again, like Bianco, he's a real sexy pick. A lot of people go, yep, he's playing. We like a lot what we read, what we hear. Where the hell is he? I mean, he didn't play on the weekend. Sydney fans, tell me, is he going to play round 1? It doesn't seem like it. Why not? Because I'll tell you what, a month or so ago, all the talk was looking like he was going to play. So if he doesn't, he might be a nice downgrade option throughout the year. But, it certainly caught me off guard. As we move into the 117k guys, we've got Harry Sharp for the Lions. Now, he certainly showed a lot. A lot was going on in the Pracky game. Rayner went down, and then Sharp came on, and we thought Eli Smith was probably going to play, and he didn't. So there was a hell of a lot going on. But Sharp couldn't have been more impressive. He's really well known for his running. I actually interviewed him back in the day when I was working at the paper in Ballarat, and at that stage, he was gunning for the Olympics. Now he's made the change. And he's clearly, an outstanding athlete. But I thought his attack on the ball was outstanding and just his ability to keep his feet. So I feel as if either he or Smith will play on a wing in Brisbane's round 1 side. So just watch that space. And then we've got a few guys that probably, not too sure. Jacob Ware, 117k for the Giants. Again, everything we read and, mature age and beautiful ball user. Everything says he's a great option, but it doesn't look like he's going to get the chance early. So let's just wait and see what the teams bring up. But it looks as if, Lockie Ash is probably a running defender at the Giants that's worth getting more excited about. Bailey Laurie at the Demons, 117k. He was named, didn't get any game time. We can throw a line through him. And here's my second lock, and it's Tom Highmore, 117k. Really think he's found a spot in the Saints back 6. And if he hadn't already, Frawley going down really sees that short up. So I think, again, I'm banking on some job security here. And he could be anything in terms of the scoring. He certainly can intercept, but equally he can probably just, not find stacks of the pill. So it's going to be tough. If he does play, which I feel as if he will, he'll have those days where he does rack up a nice score or two, but I don't think he's going to be like a high accumulator. I think he'll get most of his good days from when he gets a few intercepts and a few tackles. So, but definitely he's, he's a popular one. And just finally, Isaac Chugg at the Pies, 102k. Are most people picking him just on like 1 or 2 articles we've read, and it's a sort of a funky name? I don't know. Doesn't look like he's going to play. So I think we can probably give that one away. I remember reading an article suggesting that he was a really good chance, a round 1 bolter. But it doesn't seem like it now, so I feel as if we can maybe reassess and hope that he gets a game throughout the year. So there's the defenders. Head to your side, I reckon. Get in Kaczynski, get in Highmore, and a big watch on a couple of those guys, because we're a bit short, in terms of that back line. Let's hope that Jones gets named. Let's hope Granger Barras gets named, and maybe Nick Cox can be the saviour, because Zach Williams is out round 1 too. Personally, I'm keeping him. If you want to know why, go back a couple of days, check out my video. But I think I'm going to be a little bit exposed there, showing another rookie at least for round 1. So I'm hoping we get a bit of luck in the back line there. Let me grab a water just before we get into the mids. I tell you what, I just can't shake this cold. Like, don't get... I know you can't say that anymore. I don't have COVID, but I'll just, when your voice is just scratchy and you wake up and you just feel like trash. So let's tell you what, I've got a race to the clock for going live on Thursday. My voice won't hold up for a couple of hours if it doesn't fire up in the next few days. But in terms of the mids, let's start with Will Phillips at 202k. 5 touches from just the 22% time on ground. Seemed to just get like a quarter opportunity, and that sort of worries me. I think a lot of people Would have loved a lot that we saw from him in terms of the draft stuff, but probably it's another North Melbourne guy that I'll mention in a moment that seems to be the lock, and he is a lock for mine. But Phillips, he's pretty pricey. We needed to see more, so put a line through him. Finn McGuinness, just wanted to, I'm not saying pick this bloke, but I just want to put him out there because I think he'll be a really good option at some stage this year. It doesn't look like it's going to be round one, but I'm a fan of his. And here's my lock for the midfield, and I would say probably my biggest rookie lock in the comp, and it's Braden Campbell. He's a mid-forward, 189k, and he's just done everything right. He's a high pick, and he couldn't have put a better case forward, really. He's finding lots of the ball. The Swans are raving about his ball use. They're talking about how he's got a real role to play off half-back and, wherever. So I think he just looks like he'll slide into that side beautifully, and I think we should lock him right in. So he's definitely in my side. Archie Perkins at 171k. Just had the one touch for minimal game time. So I think anyone sort of hoping, and he is in a few sides, anyone hoping that he would make an impact or get opportunity, it seems unlikely. Even if he does, not sure on the opportunity that he'll deliver. Tanner Bruin, 157k, and he kicked the 4 snags. Now, that was pretty impressive. And it looks as if he'll get some games, for sure. But I just wanted to put a little waiver on it. I think there's better options than him. I know he's going to, he's a really highly touted youngster, tough, can kick a goal by the looks of things. But I just don't know if he's going to get the opportunity. There's so much going on in the Giants midfield. He's not going to get a go there. So it looks as if they're trying him as a forward. Often apply your trade there, a little apprenticeship as a youngster. But I just wonder if there's better options in terms of job security. And I haven't really considered him, to be honest, because I think there's a fair bit to work with in the midfield. And none more so than a bloke who's 4k cheaper, and that's Tom Powell. If Braden Campbell's the biggest lock, then Tom Powell is probably the second biggest lock in terms of rookies. I've currently got them at M7 and M8, and I'm pretty comfortable with that. So he was an absolute ball magnet as a youngster. He's shown his ability to win the ball in the pracky games. They're really loving what he does. So it quite simply seems as if he is a round one lock. And if he is, he should be in your side as well. Finlay McRae, 126k, mid-forward again. He was all the rage, talk of midfield time and filling that void at the Pies. And obviously he's got the relationship to, the relation to Jackson McRae. So there was a bit to talk about there. But again, he didn't play on the weekend. So you've got to think, well, where is he at in terms of calculations? He might be a guy that we look to at some stage in the year. I feel as if he'll get games at some point. Doesn't look like it'll be round one. So he might be a nice little downgrade. Nakai Cockatoo, again, he's injured at the moment, 123k. Not going to get that round one berth that many were hoping for, but keep him on your watch list. And also, look, depending how you side and what you like, if he looks like he's going to be fit for round two, I wouldn't be absolutely against keeping him on the bench, because it looks like we'll have an R3 that's playing, He could just be a nice floating donut for your vice-captain loophole, because I'd love to know if he is fit, is he in that side, or is he still going to have to fight his way in? Like he's not physically fit, but once he's physically fit, is he going to get that opportunity straight away? Is he going to need like 3 or 4 games in the NEFL or whatever? What is it now? The East Coast Football League or something? Really interesting. I'm not totally against having a guy that's a really good chance to play in rounds 2 or 3 on your starting squad, but not for everyone. Eli Smith, like I mentioned, he's a mid-forward. We'll be waiting to see on the Brisbane sides, but there's been a lot of positive talk about him playing round one and filling that role on a wing. So we'll have to see, but it was a bit of a curveball when he wasn't named the other day. Luke Valente at the Dockers, 123k. Again, a bit of hype about him, physically ready, been waiting a long time to play. But it looks as if I was reading an article on the Dockers page and they were talking about, he's probably going to play some minutes with Peel, and it doesn't sound as if he's in line for round one at this point. So he seems to be a downgrade option. As we just continue, turn the page for a few more mids. Got James Jordan, 123k. He had 14 touches and, looked the goods. I'm a big fan of him. He's impressed twice now for the Demons. But there were a stack of Ds out. There was no Oliver, no Viney, no Brayshaw, no Salem. There was quite a few. So I think he could get an opportunity to play, but he's definitely going to get pushed out a little bit further from the contest than he was against the Dogs. But he might be someone we consider. Riley Collier-Dawkins for the Tigers, 123k. Had the 8 touches from, not too much game time. I think it was about 40%. Probably needed to see more. It's a tough side to break into, that Tiggs outfit, so not too sure on that one. Sam Berry, 117k. Again, he had 42% time on ground for the Crows, just the 4 touches. Probably needed to do more. And here's another lock for mine, and it is another Hawk. Tyler Brockman, 117k. He's a mid-forward, so take your pick where you want to put him. Kicked the 3 goals, 10 touches, and had 4 tackles. And there is a lot of opportunity at the Hawks. They're going to have a tough year, and a couple of youngsters are putting their hand up there. I think he looks to have cemented himself in terms of round 1. And I love the fact that he tackles. He can clearly find the goals. Could be a handy little selection at a cheap price. Another Hawk that could be in the mix is Connor Downey, 117k. 17 touches he had in the Pracky game. I guess there's a limit as to how many of these Hawks can debut. They could debut 4, you never know. But you'll just have to wait and see on the round 1 sides. But they're all putting their hand up. Couple of roos that didn't do too much. Charlie Lazaro and Phoenix Spicer just had like 4 or 5 touches between them. They're guys that probably had pricked up the, certainly Spicer had shown a little bit more, but seems like they didn't get too much opportunity, didn't do a stack, so might have to just wait and see throughout the year. Morris Rioli, 117k. I think a lot of people just have him in their sides because he's a Rioli. He's in like 12% of teams, so don't know what that's about. No need to have him. Another lock is Errol Goulden, 117k, 14 touches, kicked the goal, had the 4 tackles for the Swans, and really loving what he's doing. So he looks as if he's had a fantastic preseason, really impressed, and he stamped himself a couple of weeks ago, backed it up. Surely he's going to play round 1, so I love the look of him. And a couple of rookies from the Dogs, real bottom end price range. Lockie McNeil and Anthony Scott, both 102k. Both showed some decent signs. McNeil had the 8 touches, kicked a nice goal, and Scott had the 14 touches. Obviously, he won the best and fairest for Footscray last year, but that's a tough doggy side to break into. I'd be shocked if they're named. I know they played all right on the weekend. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Scott. Scott's probably the one that might get named, but you ain't playing in that doggy's midfield, I'll tell you that much. There's a lot there. Probably going to have to settle for a flank or a pocket somewhere. So, it's tough breaking into that, but certainly worth a mention, those guys. And if we just move into the rucks, Riley Thilthorpe at 202k, he's also available as a forward. I'm sure some people will love the look of him when he kicked like 4 about a month ago. Hasn't done as much in the Pracky games. I'm probably not overly enthused about him. Some might like his flexibility with the dual position, but I think there's some other options that are better and slightly cheaper, but he's a talent, there's no doubt about that. Very highly rated youngster. Tom Fullerton at the Lions, 128k, ruck forward. I think he's probably gone under the radar. We've really talked a lot about, Matty Flynn and Josh Treaty for the Dockers, even Paul Hunter, a couple of guys I'll mention in a minute, but Fullerton is perhaps the best option of the lot, mainly just because McStay is out of the side for a reasonable portion of the start of the year, so gets an opportunity. The concern isn't job security for mine, and I know he kicked a few on the week, and he actually looked really good below his knees, former basketballer. I'm sure the commentators will reference that a million times, but probably the main concern is his scoring. I think he's probably going to play more key forward. It seems as if the ruck, he may occasionally do it, but it seems more to be McInerney and Danaher that are going to share that ruck, so I don't know. I can just see him probably throwing in a few 40s and the odd, I don't know. I don't know if he can score too well, but he'll provide flexibility and he should play early. Let's see how we go. Lloyd Meek at 123k. I reckon he's a really good option, but the bugger is Sean Darcy's going to be back pretty soon. They might trial 2 rucks. Lob is out for a long period of time. Darcy's touch and go for round 1. but looks almost certain for round 2, and could play, could play round 1. So it means that Meek, if Darcy was out for the first month, I'd be all over it. But because Meek's a guy that can really shoulder the ruck on his own. But don't know. I probably not for mine, given the job security concern and the fact that there are some other guys with perhaps better job security at R3. And one of those could be Matt Flynn. Like I said in the defenders, talking about Briggs, he was all the rage. We thought fantastic. Some people were going, we'll just play Matty Flynn at R2. What a genius move. But again, curveball on the weekend with selection. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Treaky at the Dockers, like I said, he had the 7 touches. He's 102k and could get games. He's not going to score well. So really, the fact that Lob's out probably gives him some really good job security, and he can save you 20k and you can spend that elsewhere. So he's probably a handy option. But again, he's not going to score anything amazing. And Paul Hunter at the Saints, again, he gets opportunity with someone else out. Raul Marshall, long-term injury. Ryder, looks like he'll be okay for round 1. And, where that leaves Hunter, probably sharing the ruck, we'll just have to wait and see. But he's probably, don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But there's a bit to think about there in the ruck, which is unusual for our rookies. Normally, like previous years, R3's just purely been a loophole option because there's just nothing. But there's actually a few options. Now, with the forwards, I've actually got a smaller list, but I reckon there's way more quality in here. There's a few blokes like Logan McDonald, Liam Henry, Jermaine Jones. They've sort of got their points of view that have been mentioned throughout, a little bit of ownership here and there. So I wouldn't get too excited about those guys. I just wanted to touch off on them in case they're in your team, because there has been discussion at certain portions of the preseason, but they're a bit pricey. And like I said, there's better options. There's a lot of good forward options here. So I'll tell you one that I bet you haven't thought about is Michael Frederick at the Dockers. 175k, and he had the 17 touches, kicked a couple of goals, and he had the 14 kicks of those 17 touches in the Pracky game. Played 94% of the game. So last year, I've never seen a guy probably look as timid on a field, and I don't mean that too disrespectfully. He just looked like he felt like he didn't belong. He almost looked like, it was bizarre. He could find the ball, but he just didn't look ready. Maybe he's ready now. He looked the goods. Like I said, there's probably some better options that are slightly cheaper than him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just finds a nice role on the wing for the Dockers or a flank and just has a solid season. Just solid, nothing crazy. But, he's a bit of a bolter. Cade Chandler at 161k, 7 touches, kicked a goal on the weekend, but like I said, a lot of good options in the forward line. I don't think we need to go near him. Here's a guy that I nearly had locked, but I just don't know. There's a lot going on at the Swans, not sure. But Chad Warner, 144k, 19 touches, kicked a goal, had the 3 tackles. Now, he's really warming up. He's in my side at the moment, and I think he's a really good option for now. It seems like he's a good chance for round 1. Seems as if he is a really good option in terms of just scoring as well. But we'll have to wait and see. But he's a likely type. Oliver Henry at 135k, just had the 6 touches. So a lot of hype about him, a lot of excitement from the Pies and super coaches alike, but probably not for me. I don't know if he's quite, I don't know. Like I said, if you start with him, okay. If he plays round 1, fair enough. We'll probably get some good scores. He's a talented guy, but not sure. Not sure exactly on his position, exactly what he's about. So he's a decent option, but not one that I felt the need to say is a lock. And then you've got Brockman, Smith, Fullerton that I mentioned, all guys available in the forward line and elsewhere. Harry Jones, 123k, tall forward for the Bombers. I think he'll get quite a bit of opportunity, but again, like some other fellas I've referenced, his scoring ability, he could throw in a 30. He could have a good day some days and score an 80. So it's going to be up and down. But here's a lock, and this bloke, if I said Powell and Campbell were my number 2 locks in the rookie space, this fella is my number 3. Miles Bergman, massive fan, 123k, had the 18 touches. We had 17 touches, 4 tackles, which I really liked as well. And he looks to have slotted in beautifully on the half-back flank. And this was the fella I referenced in terms of Lockie Jones. You know, are they vying for the same spot? Maybe, not too sure. But if they are, it's definitely Bergman. So I reckon he's a great option. He's a high pick from last year. I think he was pick 14, but obviously didn't play last year. Now we get him at a pretty cheap price for what he was last year. And I reckon, yeah, really good option. I think he's going to be a guy that can actually score pretty handy too. So get him in your sides. Another lock for mine is James Rowe at the Crows. 117k, kicked the 3 behinds, 15 touches, just looked active, you know, and I think he's the sort of bloke that I feel as if the Crows are going to give opportunity to, and he'll get a crack at it. So I reckon he's a guy that a lot of people will be locking in. It seems as if they already are, so certainly one to chuck into your side. And just finally, Alec Waterman, 102k, was all the rage after he kicked the bag in a practice game against the Blues, I think it was, but just the 2 touches from 25% time on ground. So it maybe looks as if when it all comes together, best 22 style for the Bombers, he's maybe not quite there. But I guess we're going to find out next week, aren't we? So that's a wrap. That is a rookie wrap. Pretty comprehensive. What have been going for? About half an hour. So yeah, hopefully you've stuck around for the whole way. I do appreciate if you do. If not, hopefully you've been able to skim through and hear about the rookies that you've wanted to hear about. But it's a pretty extensive list. If I've missed anyone, let me know. If you reckon a guy's a lock that I didn't reference a lock, as the neighbour's dog goes absolutely off his tree. But yeah, if there's anyone in there that you reckon's a lock that I haven't mentioned, certainly let me know. Like I said, I'm going live on Thursday night, 8 p.m. So that's in a couple of days. Oh, that's tomorrow. It's tomorrow, isn't it? So yeah, the week goes quick when you have the Monday public holiday, doesn't it? But yeah, so that's a pretty extensive wrap. Can't wait to see the teams. Yeah, I'm tinkering my side. I'll have a team update out soon, possibly tomorrow, slightly before the live session, but I'll see how I go. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.